Hi! Record Roulette 4. This time it's personal. At least I hope so. I mean, last time it ended up being 4/5 my wife's record collection and just one lone release that belonged to yours truly. And I think I did the math. I think at most my wife has about 50 to 60 albums out of the 1,500 that are in this collection. So the odds should be in my favor, right? Let's see what happens on Record Roulette 4. For those of you who are new to this is a series of videos where I use the random item feature on Discogs to pull up something from my record collection. Whatever it is, I get up, I grab it, I talk about it. We all have a splendid time, okay? So, without any further ado, let's just jump right in to this episode of... Okay, as usual, recording my screen on my laptop at the same time so you can see my selection when it's happening. So let's go ahead. Here's Discogs, and here is the random item selection. I'm clicking it right now. This is an interesting one to start off with. Hope, the second album from the band Klaatu, which I believe was a Canadian band. I might be wrong. But originally, and it's not this album, although it may have been a little bit on this album too, there were rumors. This album's from 1977. This is a 1977 pressing. But their first album, I believe, came out in 1976. And when it came out, there's a lot of similarities, I guess, in the tones of the voices of the singers and maybe some of the musical choices that made it seem like a natural progression for the Beatles. And so a lot of people were starting rumors that Klaatu were actually the Beatles making new music. Now, and these guys for a long time never used any of their images on anything and never did interviews, so nobody knew who Klaatu were. Eventually it turned out they were just some other musicians who had Beatlesque tendencies. This stuff is way more sort of odd and psychedelic, and it's a lot of fun. It's like poppy, psychedelic, groovy 70s music, and their first two albums to me are fucking great. And I love the artwork of this one. It's just like so cool, and and the back artwork as well. And it's weird. These are albums that I've been like wanting to get for a while, and I just kind of kept putting them off. And then I think it was for my last birthday when I turned 44. I went out record shopping with my wife for the whole day, hit all these different record stores, and found the first two Klaatu albums, original pressings, at a local record store here. So I bought them. Anyway, here's the inner sleeve. Picture sleeve, but still just black with writing or whatever. And then here's the label. See, another thing that led people to believe that they were the Beatles is that they were also on Capitol Records. But if you're into that, if you're into any of the sort of psychedelic Beatlesque type thing, I highly recommend at least the first two Klaatu albums because they're a lot of fun. Yeah, this is one of mine. We started off with one of mine, and that is an interesting one to start with. So, Hope from Klaatu. So far, so good. All right, let's get back to it. Here we go. Random item. It's our first 7-inch, the 1988 One single from Metallica. I also have the 12-inch version of this too, but it pulled up the 7-inch version, so here we go. So this has, obviously, the song One by Metallica, but also on the B-side it has The Prince, which is a cover of a Diamond Head song, and it's second or third. It's in the top 3 for me of my favorite Metallica cover song, because I love it. It's so good. And there's a cool live photo on the back, the dudes. But yeah, this one is a 7-inch here. and it's a big hole 7-inch. I bet you there's some kind of like cool record dude term for a big hole in a 7-inch, but I don't know what that is. But anyway, yeah. And this is the whole, and that's the thing, is like this is the whole song one, all almost 8 minutes of it, and it plays 45 speed, so it is all jammed in there. And then of course you got the Prince on side B. But yeah, who doesn't know the song One by Metallica? Some great Pusshead art right there. And it's one of the best Metallica songs, and it includes a fucking badass cover. So there you go, our first 7-inch Metallica One. I like how this is going so far. Come on, let's keep this momentum going, folks. Here we go. Random item. The universe is just like, dude, you want to include your wife in your videos, and I do. The Wedding Singer soundtrack Volume 2. This was a present I bought for my wife a couple years ago. I don't even know if the Volume 2 of the Wedding Singer soundtrack came out originally back in the, was it the late 90s that this movie came out, or the early 2000s? I don't remember. But this is from 2019 when this was released. And it's got a nice gatefold with some pictures from the movie. Now, don't get me wrong, I am also a fan of this movie, and an unapologetic Adam Sandler fan, and a Drew Barrymore fan. I mean, who isn't? It's got all sorts of 80s shit on it, so I can't really complain about this, because so honestly, this is kind of half mine too, because I like a lot of the shit on it. I mean, Too Shy by Kajagoogoo, It's All I Can Do by The Cars. That's fucking great. True by Spandau Ballet, Space Age Love Song by Flock of Seagulls. This is actually a pretty goddamn good soundtrack here. Private Idaho by the B-52s, nothing but bangers so far. Money by Flying Lizards, that's where you lose me a little bit. You Spin Me Around Like a Record by Dead or Alive, Just Can't Get Enough by Depeche Mode, Love Stinks by the Jay Giles Band, You Make My Dreams by Daryl Hall and John fucking Oates, oh my god, Holiday by Madonna, and Grow Old With You by Adam Sandler, the little track he sings on the airplane at the end of the movie. You know what? When this came up, I was like, oh, that's not that great of a soundtrack, because it's like part 2 of the Wedding Singer soundtrack, and I'm like, that's like mostly bangers on this. So there you go, Wedding Singer Volume 2. I forgot to pull the record out. It's a good thing that I remembered, because I thought, oh, it's just boring black vinyl. No, it's red. Well, that's pretty sweet. I think this may have actually been a Valentine's Day present from my wife. Maybe she can remember. She's not here to chime in. Although I've told her that she should be ready. She should be ready to jump in whenever I pull something of hers. Yeah, nice, red translucent. Is that what they call it? Translucent? Is that what the kids are saying these days? All right, cool. There we go. Now moving on. All right, 2 more to go. Let's do this. Random item. Rude Awakening by Crisis Party. Most of you probably don't know what this is. For a little while, I was doing a show called Now Spinning with Old Head. And I kind of abandoned that, like I did a lot of other things where I'm playing other people's music, because it got very complicated to navigate the strange waters of copyright and being blocked or not being blocked or whatever. I'm hoping all of that shit gets ironed out at one point, so I can just bring all these cool shows back and just, do fun shit. But I played a song from this on maybe the last episode I ever did. So this is a band from Seattle, but they're not grunge, as you can tell. They are more along the lines of a Faster Pussycat, that kind of rock music, more like, bar rock music. In fact, a member of this band before this album was Duff McKagan, because he was from Seattle, I believe, and then he moved to LA and joined a little band called Guns N' Roses. It's not an amazing album, but if you like that 80s hard rock stuff, it's good. The vibe of it is fun. The interesting thing about this is that it is on, well, if you look, it's No Wonder is the label there, but No Wonder was actually a very short-lived sort of subsidiary, or whatever you would call it, of Metal Blade Records. So this is actually on Metal Blade. So it's a fun 80s hard rock album. This is from 1989, I believe. Yeah, and this is the only fucking pressing of this. No, there was no repressing. This is one of those that's sort of lost to the sands of time. And I just sort of randomly stumbled upon it. And I was like, I wonder what this is. Oh, okay. This is a good example of one of my favorite things about collecting records is I like the history behind things. I don't care so much about getting one that doesn't have a clipped corner or is in perfect condition. As long as I can play it and it doesn't sound like shit, I'm okay with it. But the thing that I really enjoy is stumbling across something where you go, all right, I've never heard of this band before. And then you dig a little bit and you realize that they're connected to some other band that you know. Like, it happens all the time. And I love that. It's fun as fuck. So, Rude Awakening by Crisis Party. All right, folks, last and hopefully not least, random item. Definitely not least, this year's model by Elvis Costello. His third album, maybe, from 1978. And this is the US pressing of this album because the UK one actually has a slightly different cover and has one song, I think, switched out for another one. This one doesn't have I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea, which kind of sucks because I like that song a lot, but I'm not sure. I really do think that Radio Radio isn't on the British version and it's on this one. But yeah, that's a classic song in itself. So Elvis Costello, I actually talked about this album because we did our top 10 albums of 1978. Yes, this record right here is as old as Old Head. And this was on my top 10 of 1978. And well, there you go. There's the inner sleeve. You know, he was very new wavy. And so, you know, that just looks like new wave artwork right there, doesn't it? So there you go. This is on it's Columbia, but if you look at the label, it says Costello, where it would normally say Columbia. Isn't that funny? I love that. That's fucking great. So yeah, this is arguably his best album. Some people might go for My Aim Is True, maybe. Elvis Costello has done so much great shit in his career, especially if you were into that power pop sound. Ooh, what is power punk? Is that a thing? Maybe like a hardcore punk band doing Elvis Costello kind of shit? Get on that. But yeah, this has got such great songs. No Action's on here. Pump It Up is on here. Little Triggers, that's a great fucking song. And of course, Radio Radio, which is a classic one. That's the one that he was not supposed to play on Saturday Night Live, but he played it anyway, and they banned him from being on the show. Until many, many years later, when the Beastie Boys were on there in the 90s, and the Beastie Boys pretended to play one of their songs, but then stopped and brought out Elvis Costello, and they all did Radio Radio. Pretty sweet. Obviously, that was planned, but you know, he was allowed back on Saturday Night Live. And why would he not be? Because he fucking rules. He's Elvis Costello. All right, Elvis Costello, this year's model. Wrapping up this episode of... That was a lot of fun. As usual, I had a blast. I hope you did too. We got mostly my shit this time, with one from my wife for good measure. So yeah, not much to say at the end of these. I love that you guys like watching these, or you seem to. If you're new, please subscribe and like and go watch all my other shit. And there's going to be many, many, many more episodes of Record Roulette to come. So I've decided to end every single episode now with the Record Roulette theme song remix because it got a really good response. And I put a lot of work into it for something that only lasts like less than 30 seconds. It took a little bit of time, but those are the weird little things that my brain goes off on, is that I put together this like 2-second song and I go, oh, that'll be funny. And it took a lot of time to throw the 2-second song together. I'm actually playing guitar and doing vocals and all that shit. But then that wasn't enough. For some reason, my brain said, no, man, you got to remix that thing. And then I did that too. Why? I don't fucking know. For you guys, because you're the best, you're awesome, and I appreciate all the support and you guys continuing to watch my shit. So thank you very much, and I will see you all again very soon.